Charles explained these letters were from his Aunt Claire. He had spent a number of summers with the elderly woman as a child, but there had been a quarrel between her and his mother, and so he had not visited New Hampshire for many years. Nor had his Aunt Claire shown the slightest sign of wanting him to, until she read of his accident. Then she wrote sympathetically and at length. She invited him to see her, and had spoken of her own poor health. Charles made a slow recovery from the serious head injuries he'd suffered in the smash-up, and so he did little traveling up to the time of their marriage. In fact, he only returned to his position as a reporter on the Boston Globe about a month before the wedding. So he didn't get down to New Hampshire, but he did ask Anita to send his aunt an invitation to the wedding. Anita was happy to do this, since she had hardly any relatives of her own. Except for some young friends, there would be few guests for the ceremony. Aunt Claire wrote a polite note explaining she was not well enough to attend the wedding. She also sent them a present, a handsome antique silver tray. They had set their gifts out on a table in the living room of their new apartment, and when Anita unwrapped the huge tray, her blue eyes opened wide with surprise. "This is a fabulous present," she exclaimed, holding it for Charles to see. "Your Aunt Claire must be very wealthy." Charles was lounging in an easy chair near the table. His thin, sensitive face showed amusement. "She has enough," he said in his usual quiet way. He had always been shy and withdrawn, and Anita noticed this was even more pronounced since his accident. Sometimes it worried her, and she wondered if the injury had left him neurotic. Anita placed the tray prominently on the table with the other presents. "I wish she was able to come to the wedding," she said. "We must send her a special thank-you note. This is our most valuable present." "When Aunt Claire does anything, she usually does it well," Charles said. Anita turned to him with a questioning look. There were times when she resented his taciturn disposition. She really knew very little about him or his people. Their personalities were very different. She was blonde, outgoing, and attractive, with a knack for making friends. She had a slim but sturdy figure and excelled in swimming and skiing. Charles was dark and slender, sensitive and quiet, and did not fit the usual stereotype of a newspaper reporter. Actually, he wasn't pleased with his choice of profession. His one ambition was to gain enough financial independence to become a freelance writer. Anita said, "You've hardly told me anything about your family." He smiled, and he had such a warm smile that it always reassured her doubts, as he said, "There's not much family left. Just Aunt Claire and the adopted daughter who stays with her, and Aunt Clementine who lives in the other part of the family home." "The other part?" she asked, not understanding. He nodded. "Yes, you see, Shorecliff was built by two brothers long ago. It is a twin house with two complete sections. Both houses have a common wall, but aside from that they have separate front and rear entrances, cellars and garages." "That's rather unusual." "Not as unusual as you'd think," Charles assured her. "Many of the old New England houses had built-on wings housing separate families. In this case, the two houses are exactly alike. Neither brother wanted the other to get ahead of him." "What about this adopted daughter who lives with your Aunt Claire?" Anita wanted to know. "She's about your own age," he said. "I've never seen her in person, but I've had snapshots of her. She's pretty and intelligent-looking. I gather she's very devoted to Aunt Claire. She'll likely inherit her section of the house and her money eventually. Her name is Patricia." "Lucky girl," Anita commented, without being in the least envious. But it was to turn out that the attractive Patricia wasn't quite all that lucky. The news came to Anita one day in late May. Charles phoned her from his office at noon, as he often did. "Can you meet me for lunch at 1:30? He asked. She checked her desk clock and saw that it was close to 1 o'clock. "I don't know," she hesitated. "I have a lot of work to finish, and it's almost 1 now."